Welcome everyone to my 2 cents of today's Apple Big Mac and Studio event. I'm as usual, not a new thing here, right? I'm as usual a little bit disappointed. As you can imagine, maybe or not, let's see, by the way, until video replay, still working on that. So while they still work on the video replay, let's anyway summarize it. They started with what in my opinion was rather boring. I also have to say, because just new colors, I find the whole event presentation extremely boring in the meantime. The best is certainly the CGI. Obviously most of this stuff is completely rendered. And I have to say the CGI, computer graphic, 3D and rendering modeling, that looks totally amazing. I have to say, of course, Steve Jobs had his own way to present this, and I enjoyed Steve Jobs' presentation. He might have been an asshole, but presentation otherwise at times. But his presentation and otherwise vision was certainly quite outstanding. And while the CGI nowadays is pretty good, pretty nice, outstanding, yeah, one of a kind, the presentation is rather lackluster, boring, and really strange. Also, I personally would not even list this. It's like, who cares? It's now in green. It's like, seriously, you had nothing else to say. Also, iPhone 3, it's like now an Alpine green. And I also find it really strange that the colors, I said this before, I actually was thinking, do I order something or not, some months ago. But not only did I not like most of the colors, I also find it strange that each iPhone line has different set of colors. It's like, I don't get it. Maybe they can't do matching colors. Maybe they want to expand colors so that people who desperately want some green then need to buy the iPhone 3 Pro or something. Otherwise, it makes no sense to me. This is like some Volkswagen, like each model line is different. Like not you have the same Tornado or red or crystal, silver or whatever they call it this year's. I find it strange, and this colors I would not even mention. Similar iPhone SE, it's like the same old designs that I never liked. And I said this, I mean, I was calling for like non-slippery round edges, and now they have this flat edge that I for years promoted here, the previous videos. So it's the old design. I mean, sure, it's a low cost or low cost for Apple. I get it, entry level and stuff, but could not have this made flat? No, yeah, I mean, the cheapness, or the entry levelness, it's like all over the place. I find this for Apple, for as industry leading as they want themselves to be, not particularly outstanding. And sure, it's last generation's display and chin, and yeah, leave me in the comments below. I wonder, do they still have a headphone jack? I lost overview, maybe not. More amazing was the iPad Air, now with one chip. So they had the usual outstanding performance and so on. We know it, of course. And I have to give credit where credit is due. This performance is outstanding. Similar, of course, not as performant as the Macs because cooling, of course, and battery life. So that is not as high frequency clocking and so on. Of course, iPad Air, the entry-level machine now, also with how do they call it? Apple Pencil, whatever the latest naming of that is, support, so that is upgraded. I would maybe say the iPad Air is one of the more outstanding or useful products out there. But then comes a really crazy disappointment, right? And here I can't hold myself back. Mac Studio and Studio Display. I mean, this is laughable on so many levels. On one thing, sure, they have now a high-performance studio, and the really crazy things here are this Mac Studio looks like a piece of shit. It looks so ugly. I have no words anymore, right? I mean, sure, it's like, do I even have where's my? Oh, this is in the rack. I mean, sure, it's probably exactly the dimensions of a Mac Mini and just like 2.5 times the height or something. But I mean, how can they call this design? It's just one freaking block of aluminum, and it looks so misplaced. It looks, I mean, look at this thing. I mean, at the end of the day, it's first world problems. It's like, why should we care? But I have to say, this is exactly why Apple lost it, right? Look at this previous video, right? I of course have two. One highly upgraded with 1.2 gigahertz processor of G4 PowerPC stuff. And look at this beautiful piece of object that is even in the exhibition of the Museum of Modern Art, or what it's called, in New York. And sure, I get it. The Cube was a fail, it's impractical and stuff, but hey, at least it's freaking pretty, right? And how is this pretty? This is, I don't know, it's like uninspiring, idealist. Sure, they have now some ports in the front, and thankfully they have an SD card reader. At the end of the day, YOLO whatever. It could look ugly like it is, it could look better. And I also have to say there was some render of some users, and I have to say this render, I mean, sure, it has not this height. Like, they could have made this at the top some transparent plastic thing, like initial, I think, Mac Mini or whatever it was called back in the day, or I think the first Apple TV also had plastic on top of it. At least that it looks different, right? The thing is at what freaking ugly advertisement is there? I need an ad blocker. Do you not have an ad blocker? Whatever. Yeah. The more outstanding stuff, yeah, leave in the comments below. One of the ugliest things I've seen in my life. That, of course, at the end of the day, it's a freaking PC, but you just put it and don't think about it. But in the meantime, right, this is what Apple degraded to, right? Apple degraded to just another personal computer manufacturer that makes ugly PCs that many, like, I would even say our previous video, right? Overkill, thermal take, core, whatever, tempered glass case is more beautiful than this thing. The more outstanding thing is why is this? I just wanted to scroll down. Yeah. The M1, and there the craziness continues. They really called this M1. Why is this so strangely clipped though? What's going on there? Web stuff. Oh, there's some highlights, I guess. Strange rendering stuff. Yeah. They now fuse two M1 together, similar to Macan predicted. And not sure, do they show this here somewhere? Didn't check this. Oh, this is also the... Yeah, I mean the inside, this is a crazy thing, right? The inside of this thing looks basically more outstanding and beautiful. Like, it's like, even like if they would have, like, you know what, 1 second. It would have been more pretty if they would have like nothing take. I mean, freaking change, Apple, right? Also, we can zoom, right? I'm back in the office, we have some... Why do I need to give them design decisions? I get it, they want everything aluminum. But why do I need to, I mean, make it out of transparent, if you don't yet have transparent aluminum like in Star Trek, then just make it freaking old-fashioned plastic like Apple has done 20 years ago. You would even see the beautiful machine. I mean, just some crazy ideas from me. In the meantime, lone YouTuber Afterwork has more inspiring ideas than Apple. Also, that is a cable. So yeah, they fused here two M1 together. So this is maybe unchanged silicon. Of course, we don't know. Where would that even be? Why do they not have a freaking graphic here? It's a little bit strange. They advertised here like industry first and leading interposer. So these are just, I wonder why they don't have this here. Ultra. Probably have it somewhere where I don't find it instantly. And yeah, they fuse two M1s together, and I'm not sure if it's, sure, it is industry on par with others. I would say, are they really the first? Because AMD has done something similar with density-wise with their Vcache, right? So whether that is really an industry first, I have to wonder. Here's, by the way, the Ultra. Does it have somewhere, like, not some freaking... Why do they not have some silicon die here somewhere? Anyway, the naming, of course, is uninspiring. So it's just doubling the cores, doubling the... I mean, just, right? It's industry-leading performance. That is, of course, good industry-leading performance in the most ugly case. And, yeah, up to 20 core CPU, up to 64 core GPU, because... And double the memory bandwidth also, because it's just, as I said, two M1 Macs connected with some similar to AMD's V-cache stacking interposer. They're connecting those. And of course they made a big fuss of, yeah, yada yada, industry leading and whatever, and at first, when in reality there have been monstrous multi-chip packages of IBM, there has been AMD V-stacked cache. So yeah, and what else? Yeah, the naming is crazy. We have now, what do we have now? Pro, Max and Ultra. I don't know, this naming is so non-Apple, it's so PC, it's so strange. I don't know, I can't get with it. But at the end, who cares about the naming? I just find it hilarious. So yeah, double the graphic memory, CPU performance. And the crazy thing is Apple said optimized for macOS and naturally scaling whatever, when in reality the crazy thing is Macan with the Asahi Linux team. I pointed this out in one of our streams where they did this. They had first some, I think, virtualized interrupt stuff or so, something of that sort, with running KVM QEMU on the Linux side. They had this supported, I think it was like virtual interrupt or something. So this was supported on Linux, on Asahi Linux reverse engineering, before Apple supported this in hypervisor framework, as far as I followed the tweet there so much too. And also, of course, usually in micro benchmarking, macOS, due to the nature of their Mach microkernel as hardware abstraction layer and not as efficient user space, usually Linux has a better performance, so much too. macOS is the most scaling, when in reality, like, yeah, the reverse engineered Linux stuff usually outperforming that by a bit. But this is just the ridiculous marketing stuff. What else did we have there? Yeah, so this is Mac Air, also the naming. The naming is crazy. The studio naming is, this sounds like Microsoft, right? Mac Studio. It's like, seriously, this is like Surface. I think they call it Surface Studio, right? All the crazy naming in the IT industry. I can't keep track of all of this. Similar crazy is the Studio Display, in the way that the display is quite okay. There's some surrounding things are a little bit funny. The first funny thing is that here. The first crazy thing is that Apple didn't have a display for so long, right? I personally even have a display from them. I have a Studio was it called Cinema Display? I think I have still at home 22-ish inch or so. And the crazy thing is that Apple didn't have a display for so long, right? People were already joking, what is up with Apple? They can't even make a display anymore. And then they had this ridiculously overpriced XDR display. And now they have finally, after probably like a decade, also a decade ago, when they still had the last displays, whatever they called back in the day, Cinema HD or whatever display, they were ridiculously outdated, right? So they were like years, they released it 15 or whatever years ago, or 10 years ago, something of that ballpark, and they never updated it, right? So when they were released, they were okay-ish, and then all the PC industry made huge advancements with pixel density and refresh rates and stuff, and it's like Apple never updated them, so they kept them selling for whatever 5 years. At the end of the 5 years, they were ridiculously overpriced for the stagnated display performance. So yeah, they finally have a display again, of course not cheap, $50.99. And I have to say, for this price, I would also not buy it, right? It is 27 inch, it is 5K Retina, 14.7 million display, 600 brightness. P3 white color. It doesn't have probably high refresh rate. It doesn't have HDR. So, and it also doesn't have different ports, right? On my displays, I have here a super old NEC display. I have there a somewhat newer Dell, whatever that was, Ultrasharp 4K on my main desk. And what I really love are the additional inputs. I use this all the time. And sure, this is highly professional use. Maybe most people, the target audience maybe doesn't use it, but the super old NEC display here has a USB hub that you can use as a cheap built-in keyboard video mouse switch. Not sure if the Dell does supports this, but here you have only one USB port or one downstream USB port and 3 upstream USB ports. And that's it, right? You don't have another input. You can't connect another PC and switch between this. And this kind of stuff I would really like to use. I would also personally, I was holding out my my main display is getting old, probably my ultra sharp 4K display getting also 10 years old. Also you see, right? You can use this stuff like for a decade and it's still usable, right? It's not super top-notch amazing, but I basically would not really need another display for another 10 years. What I'm actually waiting for is 16:10 or 3:2 display with high refresh rate to develop and test with, what is it called? Freezing kind of marketing terms. Variable refresh rate. So it is a good display, but it's a little bit limited. The crazy thing is they built in here an Apple A14, I think, processor. And they have speakers, so giving credit where credit is due, it comes with speakers. They say industry best. Okay, maybe I could believe that. Usually the displays are rather shitty. I would also personally not really buy a display with speakers. They're usually crap. I actually prefer to have either sophisticated speakers or a headphone. They talk about spatial audio. I would call this bullshit. Most likely this sounds like garbage, right? I have actually at home also, everything I have is old, right? Octane P3. At home I have a probably also 15-year-old Cantone, I think. I don't remember the product name. Some virtual surround thing with 2 satellites and a subwoofer, super space efficient. I brought it 50% off, of course, as I usually do. And what I want to say is this Cantone stuff at home comes also with virtual surround, right? And it's completely not hearable that there's something surround. And of course, physically, it is not possible. Sure, there is some trickery of modulating the frequencies in such a way that stuff cancels out a little bit and stuff, but it's just a very tiny psychoacoustic effect, right? So you can't, with even like 6 or so speakers at the border of the thing, you can't make real spatial cinematic sounds. It's marketing bullshit, right? It's impossible. There and everywhere, it's like, no, I mean, how should this, I mean, and I'm going back, this is the crazy stuff that people always believe, every marketing stuff, right? Back in the day, long time ago, with a Sound Blaster on a 386, there was even stuff, whatever this was called, with Sound Blaster, they already had some virtual whatever surround stuff, and that stuff already, it's sure, this is obviously better than 25 years ago, some Sound Blaster, but just to make the point. Yeah, it has speakers, it probably sounds okay, but forgets the spatial audio sort of surround sound. It also comes with not only the speakers, but also cameras. So the camera is probably outstanding. Industry, 12 megapixel wide camera with center stage. And for that, they probably use A14 processors. This also means this is a smart TV kind of, right? So this comes with its own iOS-based display OS, whatever they want to call it. They, of course, didn't disclose this. People already said on Twitter, yeah, jailbreak it. I guess A14 is probably not connected to the video. This is probably too high performance video. So even if you jailbreak it, I mean, you could think it could support some thin client use case of running macOS or Linux on the A14, but I would expect this A14 is mostly controlling the camera and audio processing, not necessarily connected to the display, but you can jailbreak it and prove me wrong. And for me, this is also a little bit of a no-go. I don't want displays with smart firmware, right? I don't have a TV, but I heard from other people, everyone has problems with their smart TVs, and there will be Apple's peak bugs, right? So I expect there will be issues of stuff not connecting, of audio, video, the usual stuff of modern complexity. I don't want this modern complexity, right? I want a super amazing display. I want to have some amazing audio thing, whether it's nothing, one stuff or speakers. And yeah, I don't want to have another device where I every month need to update the firmware for bugs and features. And yeah, the pricing is of course funny, if not high. Of course, it starts with $15.99 in dollar. It's probably the same in euro. And the Nano Texture glass for anti-glare is of course highly expensive, as per usual, right? So you pay another, also you can make this larger. You pay another 300 euro, I think, just for the nano texture glass stuff, which is a little bit crazy. I would find $100 euro reasonable, but always, like, I mean, nowadays Apple is overdoing everything, in my opinion, a little bit, right? Instead of making the display $12.99, $15.99, instead of making this nano texture of $100, $300. And if you want a more outstanding stand, so either, I think this comes like included in the price, and you don't need to buy 999 euro stand. The tilt adjustable stand, which is of course not super amazing, comes with it. But the crazy thing is just a tiny little update, right? I mean, how can a tiny little better stand, tilt and height adjustable, cost another freaking, is it 400 euro? I mean, seriously, come on, Apple. This is, I mean, maybe Apple fans should be happy that they didn't make it 999 euro, but how can a freaking height adjustable thing here cost 400 freaking euros more? And then of course, if you combine this with this, and it's like, yeah, obviously. So I personally will not get them, no surprise there, because I want second video input and variable and higher refresh rate, and HDR don't really need that, but probably PC vendors figure a way to add that. Combined with the Studio pricing, the Studio starts at, I think, 1999 for the entry-level model, which is, yeah, I mean, for what, by the way? All right, it's a Max. We could actually check how much more that is over a Mac Mini. But the crazy thing is, for an industry-leading performance thing, as they claim that to be, I mean, memory bandwidth, obviously it is a bit, but core count-wise, nah, you get into very enthusiast territory, right? They basically double that. I mean, this price is insane, right? I mean, this price, it's like somewhat reasonable, plus minus or something. But doubling that, I mean, you still get the same, I don't know, do they change anything? Okay, they double the memory, okay. But the memory doesn't cost thousands of euro. The world's fastest, yeah. But it is a little bit, this is not only Apple pricing, but also Apple price structure that I previously already didn't appreciate it the most, that if you want 20 freaking cores, you also need to take the 60, or can you actually, wait a second, didn't check that, can you, or maybe you can, Ultra, okay, so the Ultra is, yeah, so 1400, so this, do they change anything else that is 20 core? Oh, wait a second, no, they change, okay, so they really changed the memory, so yeah, okay, apparently does it, yeah, apparently, so this is also including memory, so you could make this like 1,000 plus minus, give or take. I'm not sure if it changes more, maybe it doesn't, or does it? Maybe we click on this again, does it change storage? Maybe not. Yeah, so approximately $1,000 for double the processor and $400 for the memory or something. It's, yeah, it's, you get it, you take it with the memory or not. This packaging thing of you can't select this individually is something I already didn't like the most with other Apple SKUs. So this price is crazy, and but this is also the thing in the Apple ecosystem, right? There is then no Hackintosh anymore because ARM, and there is no choice, right? If you want this stuff, especially without Hackintosh, you need to choose it, right? And Apple will continue, and in the future even more so, to charge whatever they can for everything. And combine this with the display, then of course you are at 6,000 plus minus dollars if you max this out here in such a way. Last but not least, I would say that, of course, like all PC users now, with PC components, you're way more flexible, right? I started here, and here you can't change anything, right? Everything is soldered in, the memory and stuff. And in the PC world, you can start with an entry-level motherboard for $100 or even $50. There are some. And you can start with some entry or mid-range AMD Ryzen and later upgrade this, you can swap the GPU, right? And here you can't, right? So you spend $4,000 for, of course, a quite high performance personal computer that you can never change, right? The previous problem with the last year's Apple stuff, and of course it will not change anymore. Yes, I understand the memory, this high performance memory only exists in this way on chip with this performance directly soldered on there, but that is a consequence, of course. I don't expect Apple to be more flexible with the SSD. That would be one thing, but even the graphic, right? Yes, it's unified memory. I mean, previously unified memory was not was not standing for high performance. Not in the SGIO2 and not in Intel's integrated graphics or AMD Fusion. This is only high performance because the memory bandwidth is so outrageous high. That is certainly something of this architecture. Otherwise, unified memory is not some high performance thing. But yeah, that is the new Apple. And of course, at the PC side, we don't have this as a generic PC side because we don't have high performance GPUs on such SoCs. We have AMD Ryzen CPUs with built-in memory for entry-level graphics. And I really didn't like it the last years, and I increasingly like it less, right? This flexibility of you need more graphic, you plug in a RX 5700 stuff, and you have more graphics, more memory, and so on. This is, yeah, plus you are obviously, I mean, unless you are like Snazzy Labs and open the case and build it into something more stylish, you are even stuck with this ugly case of this side. Yeah, that is basically the summary, and this is why I'm somewhat disappointed. The design, right, I also wanted to say with the studio, even the studio doesn't look particularly good, right? I've seen, I mean, did they seen, I think they said high body to screen ratio, but in reality, I've seen way thinner display bezels here, and it's aluminum. It certainly looks Apple. The design is somewhat okay, but this extreme large bezel is like, yeah, not a fan of that. And otherwise, it of course looks like old-fashioned Apple HD display things of whatever. Was it like this one? Yeah, eBay. So yeah, it looks like previously, not too much of a change. And yeah, this is also the thing that I anyway don't like with this glossiness, right? So for me, I got serious eye irritation from this glass display, so I would recommend this nano coating stuff, and then I can also get a PC display of already not being glossy to start with. So all in all, it's like, yeah, it doesn't look new, doesn't display to body ratio, stand, yeah. Both, I think so. I mean, even the ultra sharp is still, yeah. I mean, all my other, except the Apple Cinema display, were height adjustable, right? Here you pay $400 or what it was dollar for height adjustable. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so that is basically the summary. Not particularly impressed, especially not from the design language. I mean, for what even do they have the designers, right? I mean, this looks like it looked before. They pay millions of salaries for designers for that. The stuff looks still the same, and the Big Mac Studio is an ugly block of aluminum. I mean, nah. I mean, hey, they made a photo so that it looks like a Mac Mini from above, because from the side it looks ugly. Yeah, otherwise you get some stuff in black now, so matching. If you ever wanted a black mouse, then you get one now, and keyboard and touchpad and stuff. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you learned something. Leave in the comments below what you think, and I hope to see you soon for next videos, and